how's it going? Hope I find you well, as always. What I wanted to talk about today is this tendency I've seen a lot of people have, especially with people with what we call mental illness, to kind of take that and make it the defining piece of their personality, to make it their defining characteristic, to make it what they're about, essentially. And I've done it myself, and it's not, what it does is you take that quality and you make it your whole personality, because you believe it's your whole personality, so you make it your whole personality. And of course that doesn't go well, because when your whole personality is a negative quality, well, just imagine what that looks like. Oh, it doesn't look good, does it? So what happens when you focus on the negative solely is ideas tend to have a life of their own. They tend to self-perpetuate. They tend to try to keep themselves alive, essentially. It's almost like they're a conscious entity. So what happens when you have an idea in your head that you're weak, you're negative, yada yada, and that's bouncing around in your head all day, that's going to try to self-perpetuate. Also what happens is your subconscious plays a major role in your decision making. So when you're filling your subconscious with all these beliefs, these negative beliefs, of course you're not going to do anything, because you don't think you can. You don't think you can do anything worth anything because you're, stupid or manic or you're unorganized or whatever. But because you have that belief stuck in your subconscious, you won't make decisions, because that's what your mood is that day. So you'll make crappy decisions, and that'll perpetuate those beliefs. So how do you avoid this? Well, first off, you have to be mindful that it's happening. So you have to have a little bit of a basis in mindfulness. You have to do some meditation, some journaling, whatever it is you do to be mindful. Secondly, what you do is you remember that, okay, yeah, these things are, and you have to remember, yeah, these negative things exist. Okay, that's something to remember. They exist, and in the now, they exist. And you have to acknowledge that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Alright? Okay, good. But you have to acknowledge also that this is the now. The future is a different time. It's not permanent. Nothing has to be permanent. Not everything, anyhow. Most things aren't permanent. Things will change. You also have to remember that you're probably blowing the negative quality out of proportion. You're probably making it bigger than it is. That's just a tendency we have. It's fine. You also have to remember that sometimes negative qualities it's almost like a side effect of a strength. Like, for example, one of my things is I have this very kind of loosey-goosey kind of mind. I can kind of like take ideas from a lot of different places and kind of combine them and make a new idea. But a side effect of that is I'm very loosey-goosey with my physical environment. So things aren't very clean usually. Whatever. It might be a part of your strength, so you won't be able to deal with it. Another thing to remember is that you have strengths. Everybody has strengths. You have some sort of strength. You do not make it to any age and not have some kind of strength. It's impossible. It is literally impossible. You have a strength somewhere. You might have to ask people to help you find it, because you might not be able to see it, because you can't objectively, or you have a very subjective view of yourself. Other people have a little bit more of an objective view, because they're not as attached to it. So ask around, put the call out on Facebook, whatever. Also, something to remember is that quality might not be negative. Somebody might have told you it was negative and you believed them. Right? So I'll give you an example in my life. In my life, I have the ability to... Oh, my brother just lost in League of Legends. Anyhow, I have the ability to pick out the negative in a project or an idea, and I can pick out why it's wrong or why it's going to fail. Now, people used to tell me that was negative, because, you're focusing on the negative, that's bad. But then I did some thinking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute, if I can pick out the weaknesses in a project or an idea, I can address those weaknesses, and that project is that much more likely to be successful. Oh, that's positive. Okay. So remember too that, yeah, it might not be negative. It might just be you think it's negative, or somebody told you it was negative and you believe them. And the last thing to remember is you are shaping your reality. You play an enormous role in the shaping of your reality. So work on it. As always, onward and upward.